Hi, Greg Griffiths here from Ivanhoe Cycles. This is the Liv Tempt 2, a women's mountain bike built by Giant from the 2018 range. Tempt 2 is the middle model of three bikes. There's the Tempt 1, Tempt 2 and then the cheaper one, the Tempt 3. It has an aluminium frame, suspension forks, disc brakes, and interestingly on this bike, whereas many mountain bikes have 3 chainrings, some of the more high-end newer bikes have got 1 chainring. This bike's in the middle and has 2 chainrings, so an extra small one and a larger ring, and then 9 cogs at the back with a wide-ranging cassette. So even though there's not the 3 chainrings that some bikes have got, the gear range that is there is suitable for most riding conditions. So whether it's really steep off-road riding or just path riding, the gearing is still fine. So it's a little less complicated without that 3rd chainring and a little bit lighter weight as a result. And for some people, just more is not necessarily better. Keep it simple is the way to go. So 2 chain rings operated by the gear levers on the left, 9 cogs at the rear operated by the gear levers on the right. This is a 27.5-inch wheel bike, as most the higher end bikes are these days. So they have tubeless tyres, which means that they can be run with slightly less tyre pressure, which gives a comfort advantage, also traction advantage. So if you're riding off-road where it's slippery or muddy, rocky or whatever, with a slightly, not deflated, but a less pressure in the tyre, there is more grip. So having a tubeless is a real advantage. Also it saves a bit of weight, and particularly rotating weight makes it harder to get going. So lighter rotating weight means the bike will accelerate quicker. So tubeless is quite a new phenomenon for bicycles. It's been in motor cars for a long time, but in bikes it's reasonably new. And it's filtered down the range from the very high end to a mid-range bike like this. So that's a nice feature that will advantage many people and enable them to run lower pressure, so the rider will be more comfortable. Also aiding with comfort is the fact that it has suspension forks. So the suspension forks on this bike are Sun Tour, which are both adjustable with the dial on the left-hand fork and have a lockout on the right-hand side. So you can regulate the pressure of the fork if you're a lighter weight rider or a heavier rider, or if you want to change it just to see how or what suits you best in various riding conditions. And if you don't need it at all, you can simply turn it off. So the suspension on this is really good. Nice lightweight aluminium frame. As with all Giants, it has a lifetime guarantee on the frame. So Giant, given the fact that they make their own frames, they can back up their materials and workmanship with a lifetime guarantee. At the rear end of the bike, as I mentioned, we have the 2 chain rings, a seal bearing bottom bracket, so a maintenance-free setup there. 9 cogs with a Shimano Dior rear derailleur, so it's quite a high quality gear system. Dior has been around for a long time, but this is the latest model Dior and works equally as well as all the previous models. It's just now it's made that it'll work with a wider range cassette, so suiting the more modern bikes. This bike, as with many mid-level and even up to higher level bikes, it has rack mounts. So if you did want to use this bike for purposes other than mountain bike riding, you could put a pannier rack on. So even if you did some off-road weekend touring or something like that, or you simply just want to go for a picnic in the bush, you could have a rack on, take your provisions with you on the rack, ride to somewhere secluded in the bush and have your picnic and then ride home. So, you know, it has a lot of advantages, a bike like this. Being a Liv, it's made specifically for women, so the dimensions of the bike are more suited to a women's form than men. It has also a female saddle, of course, so comfort, again, being a prime consideration there. So, nice bike, well equipped, thoroughly modern with the 2x9 disc brakes and adjustable forks and all those type of things. Really nice paint job too, basically white, but with quite a bit of colour here in the main tube. So, if you're in the market for a mountain bike, if you've got an older hack that's not quite living up to expectations, or you've got riding with friends and your bike's not quite keeping up with theirs, maybe something like this would get you back in the bunch. So if you're interested, drop in, have a look. It's a nice bike and I'm sure you'd like this or even something else from the range. Thanks.